Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Kathy Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, and happy that you are here with us. We got a lot to do here over the next couple of hours. Koki Riley from The Advocate with us in 15 minutes talking LSU baseball. They got a really nice win over UNO last night. Now they turn their attention to Austin, Texas, the first SEC road trip of the year. We'll talk to Koki about all that in 15 minutes. It's a What If Wednesday. We're going to talk some hockey in What If Wednesday because there's hockey stuff going on if you're not paying attention. Jackson Darts, he makes sense in New Orleans. I'll give you my thoughts on that. Matthew Bruni at 2 o'clock talking basketball. How do the Lady Tigers match up with their pod this weekend in Baton Rouge? I've got thoughts on LSU's win yesterday against UNO. We got to get our SEC baseball power rankings. Am I still holding on to hope for Texas A&M? We will talk about that at 2:30. So plenty to do. Let's start things the way we start every single day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Yesterday, I talked a little bit about some of my takeaways from speaking with the LSU football players in post-practice media availability. And we talked a little bit about the defensive backs. We let Mansour Delane talk a little bit about kind of restoring the talent to DBU, and talked about DJ Pickett a little bit. And today I thought I would take another big takeaway that I had from yesterday, which is kind of a mentality thing with the LSU football team as they get into spring. And again, we're talking about media conversation, not necessarily actual results that we're looking at on the field. And I haven't been at every minute of every practice. But it was evident to me in speaking with Jack Pyburn and in speaking with Bauer Sharp that there is a significant shift and a significant push towards sincere physicality on the offensive side of the football for this LSU football team. We know that LSU didn't run the ball worth a flip last year. There's a reason why LSU was second in the SEC in passing yards. LSU was second in the SEC in completions. LSU was seventh in the SEC in total offense, but fell well behind that in scoring offense. LSU was the best third down team in the conference last year. LSU was sixth best in the country on third down, but didn't score at the clip you would want because you were bad in the red zone because you couldn't run the ball. Dead last in the SEC in running the football. That creates red zone inefficiency. That means you're not scoring touchdowns when you need to. That means you're not scoring enough points. That ultimately means you're not going to win enough games. And we all saw that last year. All of us. So I'm not breaking any news to you there. You know LSU didn't run it worth a flip last year. The question is, can they do that this year? And I don't know the answer to that. And we may not find out until they play Clemson. We may not find out until a little bit later in the season. I feel good about the passing game. I think Nussmeier will be great. I think they've got some real players at wide receiver. I like the talent at running back. I wish they had a little bit more depth, but I like the talent. Question is, can they be physical enough up front at the point of attack to make things happen and run the ball? And they're trying. I'll tell you this. One thing that we have seen in our practice viewing is a little bit of a different look from the offense. We saw a lot of two tight end sets on yesterday. A lot of them. Saw some two tight end sets in an abbreviated period on Saturday. And you're seeing Bauer Sharp in there, and you're seeing Trey'Dez Green in there, and Donovan Green is available. He's a big physical tight end from Texas A&M, but they're showing a lot of two tight end looks. And they're also showing an ability to run the ball from under center, which is not something we have seen really at all the last few years. And I'm not sold that's a terrible idea because you saw you could run the ball 2 years ago with Jaden Daniels in the spread because he made front sevens panic. Like you had to account for him at all times. And so you could just kind of get into a wide set and run the zone read and let the offensive lineman just kind of push and let the back find his way. And it worked out. And when it didn't work out running the ball with the running backs, Jaden just tucked it and ran for 1,000 yards on Florida. That aspect is gone. You have to find a way to run the ball with the running backs. You have to find a way to run the ball when they know you're running the ball. You have to find a way to run the ball on first down. You got to find a way to run the ball on third and short. You got to find a way to run the ball in the red zone. And one adjustment we never really saw last year was running from under center. They did it a couple of times, but not a lot.
Remember the wing tee?
I did remember the wing tee, and that's part of it, and it didn't really work. But I'm okay trying things in the spring and trying to be more physical. And I liked our conversation with Bauer Sharp yesterday. He said, look, I get up and go to practice every day, and I pat those 5 guys on the helmet that are the offensive line, and I say, we're going to go as you go. You set the tone for the day. You set the tone for the offense. It's not Nuss. It's not Joe Sloan. It's not the wide receivers. It's the offensive line has to set the tone for the day. And then we talked to Jack Pyburn, and if you want to read some of the quotes that he had, you can find it at LouisianaSports.net, where I wrote a story this morning. But he said, like, to these guys' credit, like, they're coming out every day, and they're firing off the ball. And it's better than it was last year when we played against LSU. Now, I have my doubts that this new offensive line is significantly better on March the 19th than the 5 guys that LSU had out there in November of last year. I may be wrong. I've got my doubts about that. Jack Pyburn was on Florida's team at that point. Now he's on LSU's team. It behooves him to speak positively about his teammates. So I'm not going to necessarily etch this in stone that Jack Pyburn said they've been out there in spring football for a week and a half, and this offensive line is kicking butt in a way that last year's didn't. I'm not there, okay? But it's evident that there is an absolute commitment to trying to get this fixed. And that's the first thing that's got to happen. I mentioned this on Twitter last week when I saw some things, and like talking doesn't get things done. But at least they are talking about it. You never heard, and I hate to keep going back to this, but it's what we have. It's what we have to go off of. If I go back to 2016, 17, 18, 16, 17, you don't have a lot of Les Miles going, yeah, you know, we ran it a little bit too much. We got to spread the field. We got to chuck it down the field. We've got to throw the football for 275 yards per game if we're going to be better. Like, he never said that. So there's no reason for me to sit back and believe, yeah, they're gonna really change the way they do things. They are making a commitment to getting better at this and this and this. He never said that. This team is telling you, we know we've got to run it better. And the defensive guys are telling you, those guys are coming to work every day. And Jack Pyburn prides himself. He told us this yesterday. He prides himself on his ability to set the edge of the point of attack, to manhandle offensive linemen, and to get guys on the ground. And I don't think he's going to go up there and be like, yeah, these guys are awesome, if he's crushing them every day and realizes that these guys can't hold me. Again, that's just speculation on my part because I don't know for sure. But I liked Bauer Sharp saying we talk to these offensive linemen every day, and we're going to go up there and be physical. And he talked about his relationship with Alex Atkins. And if you're not completely familiar with Alex Atkins, you're trying to ease back into football. Alex Atkins comes over from Florida State, where he was their offensive coordinator. Now, Mike Norvell called the plays, but he was also their offensive line coach. So your tight ends coach that's coaching Trey'Dez Green and coaching Bauer Sharp and coaching Donovan Green and will coach J.D. LaFleur, who weighs 265 pounds, has coached offensive linemen his career. So you've got a guy coaching the tight ends that's got an edge to him, that knows the run game, that wants to run the ball. I don't think I'm reaching here. I've never proclaimed, like, yeah, LSU is going to be dominant up front this year. Yeah, LSU is going to switch from a pass-first offense to a run-first offense. I don't believe either of those things. I think LSU is going to be a team whose offensive identity is more so in the passing game than the running game. That's what happens when you've got a fifth-year senior quarterback who just threw for 4,000 yards, who's a potential first-round pick, and you've got a ton of guys on the edge with great speed and playmaking ability. You're not just going to ignore that, but you've got to be a little bit more balanced than what you were last year. And there's no way to get there unless you commit to it. And I can't speak to the end result based on watching 2 hours of practice thus far and talking to 4 guys yesterday. But I can tell you that it's evident that these guys who just got here, in Bauer Sharp and Jack Pyburn, are telling me, yeah, at practice, we're getting after it in the run game. And these guys are buying into it, and they want to do it, and we know how important that's going to be. I don't think we're going to get any answers this fall, and I'm not really asking in fall. Any answers this spring. And I'm not asking for answers right now in the spring. Spring is for positivity. Spring is for a little bit of a lack of intensity in terms of game planning. Spring is for experimenting to a degree. And LSU, it looks like, is doing a good bit of that. But we all know as we sit back here and look from afar, like, y'all better get this figured out or it's going to be another season that ends in disappointment. There are a number of things LSU's got to get better at as a program. They've got to stop the run better. They've got to cover better. But they've got to block and run the ball better on the offensive side of the ball. And Garrett Nussmeier's got to turn it over less frequently. Like, there are a lot of things they've got to correct. But, man, it might be number one on the list that you've got to run the ball better. Because you have no chance if you don't have a running threat. There's no better illustration of LSU's inability to run the ball and what that can ultimately mean for your offense than the second half against Texas A&M last season. Once A&M realized that LSU couldn't run it, and they let those guys pin their ears back, it doesn't matter if Will Campbell's the 4th pick in the draft and Emory Jones is the 38th pick in the draft and Miles Frazier started 40 games. None of that matters because they're just going to be able to pin their ears back and go at a quarterback who moves okay, not great, and it was a disaster, and LSU couldn't move the ball. They've got to get it fixed. I don't know if they will, but they're certainly trying. If you'd like to read a little bit more about it, you can certainly do that at LouisianaSports.net. I've got some quotes in there from Jack Pyburn and Bauer Sharp that I think illustrate it pretty nicely. All right, that's our Genesis opening drive here on this Wednesday. We'll step aside when we come back. Koki Riley talking baseball. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carver and his team, just fantastic folks to work with. There are alternative solutions in the insurance world that you may not have been exposed to if you're a business owner or a CFO or whoever, risk manager that may deal with your company's insurance program. Have you explored a captive? Now, the captive is specifically designed for those who spend a significant amount in insurance. That threshold changes depending on the captive, but it's not for the BOP policy that costs you, 4 figures a year. This is for some folks that are in some more risky situations, more bigger business models. If you have not explored a captive and you're thinking, man, maybe that's something that could save me significant amount on my insurance, explore it. Jonathan Carver and his team at the Highland Insurance Group do it all the time. So if you haven't looked into it, Jonathan Carver and his team are happy. They're at the Highland Insurance Group right here in Baton Rouge. They're statewide, can help you anywhere you are in the state of Louisiana. Look at a captive. See if it might be a right fit for you and your business. The Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online at HighlandIG.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Hope your Wednesday is going quite nicely. Ours certainly is here at 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We got a lot to do. Jackson Dart, does he make sense for the New Orleans Saints in the top 10 of the draft? I'll talk about that at the end of hour number 1. Matthew Bruni is going to be talking hoops with us at 2 o'clock. We got SEC baseball power rankings coming up at 2:30. Had some shifts. I'm looking at my power rankings here. See how many big movers, what I would classify as big movers, just like 4 or 5 spots. I would say there's one right there. That's one. There's 2. I would say there's 3 big movers this week for SEC baseball power rankings. We'll talk about that in the second hour. LSU baseball gets a win last night against UNO, and I'll tell you, that was a nice win. I mean, I don't think UNO is very good. Their record, I told you this yesterday, when I knew that they had lost to West Georgia or whatever that was, I was like, man, that's going to be a disastrous season. And I hadn't paid attention to UNO baseball in 4 weeks since. And so I was surprised to see they had a winning record. They were coming off a sweep, and they had a winning record in 9 conference games as well. But they came out last night, and they greeted Jaden Newt with 3 base runners. Drew a leadoff walk. Got a couple singles. All of a sudden, it's 1-0. UNO, LSU doesn't have an out, and you're like, well, you get the sweep of SEC play. You got another big weekend of travel coming up with Texas on the horizon, and UNO's playing good baseball. They just came off a sweep. Like, you may have your hands full. And from that point, where they had the first 3 guys on base, scored a run, had 2-1 with nobody out, LSU absolutely, totally, and completely dominated the baseball game. And that's what they should do. But when they do it, I'm going to point it out. And Newt struck out the next 3 on straight changeups, all 3 of them, which has become a really nice weapon for him. He used the slider a little bit, and the fastball's still good enough at 92, 93. But the changeup is his best pitch. And when it's a good one, he gets a lot of sink at like 84, 85. When he kind of doesn't quite get it exactly like he likes it, it drifts a little bit at 88. But it was good. And he got through 4 innings last night. They really they let him go, and they got him through 4 innings, took him out, and Jay Johnson said on the post game they felt like they could potentially use him over the weekend in a late weekend spot because they got him out of the ball game. But then you turn the ball over to Jacob Myers, who was really good. It was as clean an outing as he's had this year. The strikeout numbers were up, obviously. The fastball was really, really good. And what I've found with Myers is that he's not even really throwing a lot of breaking balls. When you look at his videos and his highlight tapes from Nichols, specifically you go and watch him in the game against Alabama in the regional where he pitched against them, like he really threw a lot of breaking balls. He has not thrown a lot of breaking balls for this LSU team, and he hasn't needed to. He's got that 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and it's been good enough. I thought he was great. I thought Cooper Williams threw it great. And we'll talk about the offense in hour number 2, but I thought that was really good as well. I thought it was a really nicely played game by LSU, and they get out of there in 7 innings with an 11-1 victory. Koki Riley was there. He covers the LSU baseball team for The Advocate. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Koki, how are you? I don't think that's Koki. That sounds like a dial tone to me. So we'll try to get him. That was like an SNL bit or something where like we went right to the phone line and it was just off.
Yeah.
So, look, we'll get Koki hooked up here in a second. But like, I thought the pitching was really good. And ideally, when an LSU taxed their bullpen over the weekend, when your starter on Saturday and your starter on Sunday both go 3 1/3, you've got to use a lot of arms, and they did. And they had to use Primo in all 3 games. And they had to use Zach Cowan for an extended number of pitches on 2 different occasions. And you did have to use your closer in Case and Evans for 44 pitches in the game on Saturday. So they had used a lot of their guys. And when you can win a midweek game as convincingly as LSU did by just using the back end of your pitching staff, like that's a really quality way to go about your schedule. When you can win a midweek game without using Case and Evans and without using Zach Cowan, that's good. Didn't have to use William Schmidt, which I thought he would pitch. Thought it would be a good time to get him out there and get his feet wet. And maybe he would have if LSU didn't walk it off. Jay Johnson said in the postgame, he's like, hey, I hate these run rule games because I've got things I want to do in the late innings and can't do it when you run rule. But you didn't have to use your big guns. And I think that's a good thing for LSU as they get ready for Texas. We'll try again with Koki Riley, again on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Koki, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Awesome. So I was just kind of opining on last night's game. It's a game that we won't remember 3 months from now, but I thought they played really well, and they didn't have to use their big guns right before they go to Austin, and they hit the ball like they've been doing for 3 weeks. So your overall impressions on last night?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate way to say it. 4 home runs and just sort of showing that they still have that power element to go along with all the small ball they've been playing lately. Obviously they're walking a ton still. They're getting hit by pitches. Every inning it feels like they have guys on base. They're putting guys in scoring position, and when you're doing that runs, you're gonna sort of like, fall into runs, and that's kind of what's been happening. And then on the pitching side, also kind of like what you said, like you didn't really use any of your major weekend arms. Jay Newt through 4 innings looked pretty good. Kept his pitch count low enough to where he could potentially pitch on a Sunday. Everything just sort of worked out for them. And I think Jacob Myers had a pretty interesting performance because that's a guy who is really, really good stuff, has had a lot of trouble finding the strike zone. 8 walks in 5 2/3 innings, but at the same time, he has 10 strikeouts. So it's either a walk or a strikeout. And last night there were more strikeouts. So, it was a good overall performance.
Are you on the positive side of the weekend sweep of Missouri? But I've got folks in my Twitter mentions that are saying it was a disaster. So how do you feel about LSU's performance against Missouri?
Well, it definitely wasn't a disaster. I will say that. I think it was. I think workmanlike's the good way to put it. I think offensively they were more than good enough. 12 runs in the first game, 10 runs in the third game, even 7 runs in the second game wasn't fantastic, but it's still enough to win most games. So I don't think you can really make a real complaint about what they've been doing on offense. Pitching-wise, I think there are definitely things to work on, definitely things that they should have done better or could have done better. I think Kate Anderson was as good as you could ask for on a Friday. But Anthony Einstein and Chase Shores, I think they just need more innings from those guys, need better production from those guys. I think they can definitely get that from Einstein, someone who had 15 strikeouts in his previous start, someone who looked really good in 3 innings against Nebraska. But he's got to locate his stuff, and if he's not locating his stuff, he has a chance to. There's always a chance that he gets hit hard, sort of like he did in that game against Missouri. And I think some credit should be given Missouri's bats. I thought they looked a little bit better than I thought they would. But I think Einstein can pitch better. I think Chase Shores can pitch better. I don't think Shores was actually that bad. It was just an inefficient performance where the command was never really totally there. He just wasn't getting hit as hard as he did in his last 2 starts. So I think that was kind of a good sign for him. But it's just the strikes, and finding that consistency on an inning-to-inning basis. We just really haven't seen that since the first outing, and maybe something had to do with that just because they were playing Purdue Fort Wayne. But I kind of digress. And then on the bullpen side, I think people are ragging on the bullpen a little bit too much just because they had to pitch more innings when, your Saturday and your Sunday guys don't throw as much. Neither guy gets out of the 4th inning. You're going to have to rely on that bullpen a little bit more. And guys in the bullpen, there's a decent chance those guys are in the pen because they don't have quite the command that the starters do. So you should expect at least some more walks, but maybe not quite as many walks that they had, especially for a stretch of time there in that Saturday game where they walked 6 guys in 3 innings. Like that just can't really happen. But I thought overall the bullpen was pretty solid. Things that they could obviously do better. I mean, hopefully you can sort of limit the home runs a little bit too, because I think they gave up 3 over the weekend, which is a decent number. So I think overall it was a pretty good weekend for LSU against Missouri. There's definitely things to improve on the pitching side though.
DJ Primo went in all 3 games. That's not something I thought would happen in a league series as of a month ago. Where do you land on his usage moving forward?
I think they're going to keep on using him because they just don't have a lot of lefties, and it looks like Cooper Williams has kind of been demoted into more of a, developmental role. Not to say that we could see him pitch. We're not going to see him pitch in an SEC game. I think we probably will at some point, just based on matchups or whatever. But I think they're just more comfortable with pitching Primo in those spots, which is a little bit. I kind of agree with you. It was a little bit surprising to me just because I thought Cooper Williams was going to be that guy for this team. But he had a pretty good Friday outing. I just don't know how effective he's going to be the second time you pitch him in 2 days, the third time you pitch him in 3 days. And I know, like Missouri had those 3 straight lefties in the lineup. It was really 5 straight because they had a switch hitter in the 2-hole. But I think they wanted that guy to stay on the right side. So I think this is why you kept on seeing Primo coming into games, because Missouri had those stretch lefties and they didn't want to take any of those guys out. So, and it was, pretty mixed results, especially after that pretty good Friday outing. So, he threw a lot of strikes in the Cape League, and I thought that was a pretty good sign for him heading into this season. He pitched well in the Cape League against those wood bats, but I think it's been a little bit rocky, especially with the hit by pitches and with the walks so far this season with him.
Let's talk about Kason Evans and kind of your interactions with him. I know you wrote a story on him for The Advocate, and his role now is he's the back end guy at this point. How do you feel about that?
He's deserved it. He's earned it. He's just pitched that well, right? This is a guy who has a fastball that's 98, 99 miles an hour, sits in the mid-90s, has a really nasty slider. I was talking with one scout who was very, very pumped about just his arm speed and just his ability to really generate spin and velocity just through his physical abilities. He's a really good athlete, obviously. So obviously you saw in that Saturday game against Missouri that he's got the mindset and the mentality to make up kind of the lack of experience to pitch in those big outings, those big spots. And Missouri's offense looked a little bit better than I thought it would, but he also pitched well against DBU, and he also pitched fairly well against Kansas State, and those are even better offenses than Missouri. So I don't really see a reason why he's not going to be in these top in these sort of big roles. And he might give up a run here or run there if he's not if luck isn't on his side, as it might have been against Missouri, as it was in that Kansas State game a little bit, where there's traffic on the bases and no one scores. So I don't expect perfection from him, but at the same time, he's definitely good enough to be in this role, and I expect him to stay there.
Koki Riley is our guest, covers the LSU baseball team for The Advocate, headed to Austin, Texas this weekend for LSU and the Longhorns. SEC opener for Dish Falk Field. You got a key or two for this weekend for LSU as they head to Lone Star State again?
Yeah. I think you need those starters to go a little bit longer and to just, keep the damage to a minimum. I think LSU has the advantage when it comes to the pitching depth side of things, but do you really want to be relying on your bullpen for 5+ innings for 2 games in a row when you're playing in a park where I think there could be some offense, not necessarily from a home run standpoint, but just from a balls in play standpoint, because you're playing in the turf field. The conditions are going to be pretty fair, so the ball could travel a little bit better, even though, again, that park's bigger. So it's different than a lot of other SEC parks where it's going to be pretty friendly to flyouts instead of home runs. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. And if you're LSU's offense, you just got to keep on doing what you've been doing. And because if you just do that, then you're going to get these Texas starters out early in the game. You're going to get guys on base. And if you do that, you kind of get into the belly of that Texas bullpen. And it's a Texas rotation and pitching staff that just isn't as deep as LSU's. And what really helped them against Mississippi State was the doubleheader, because it was 2 7-inning games. They didn't have to go into their bullpen as much.
Yeah.
But I as long as there's no 7-inning doubleheader this week, they're probably not going to have that protection. And then last night, Andre Duplantier, one of their better relievers, was warming up, and he didn't even throw a pitch in the game because he had to come out for, I guess, some sort of apparent injury, and he's one of their better relievers. And they also pitched another one of their better relievers last night, Ruger Riojas. He threw 5 innings and 55 pitches or something like that. So that was 4 innings and 55 pitches. I don't know if he'll be available this weekend. So their bullpen's in a bit of a touch and go spot. So if you can get the starter out relatively early, you're probably going to be in a pretty good spot in the game. And I think that's going to be kind of the key this weekend for both teams.
Safe travels over there. We'll talk next week. Thanks, Koki.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
He is Koki Riley of The Advocate, covering the LSU beat. He's with us every single Wednesday. We'll take a timeout, come back with What If Wednesday. It's next on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Our bathtub is getting double the duty these days with the Keller man and the Myers man taking baths, so we got to have ours. You may not need yours. If you don't ever take a bath and you've got a bathtub and it just sits there and you stand in it and take a shower, it's kind of dingy or maybe not quite as functional as you like, get rid of it. Tub to shower conversion. David Duvall and his team do that kind of work all the time. Take the dingy old bathtub out, you put in a gorgeous new glass walk-in shower, totally changes the look of your bathroom and functionality of your bathroom as well. Plus, it adds a little bit of value to your home. Check out the pictures of their great work at OneBathAndClosets.com. You can see them. They're all right there. They're customized. They're gorgeous. You can see the pictures. They're right there. OneBathAndClosets.com. And you can request that free consultation with David Duvall and his team. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at OneBathAndClosets.com. OneBathAndClosets.com.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. there are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, does Jackson Dart make sense for the Saints? We'll talk about that in the next segment. We got a lot to get to in hour number 2 as well. We'll get some SEC baseball power rankings. Matthew Bruni will join us as well. I got more thoughts on LSU and UNO, specifically on the offensive side of things. So we'll do all of that over the next hour and 30 minutes-ish. But right now, let's do What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
Alrighty, first one here. What if New Orleans got a hockey team?
I just don't think it makes any sense at all. I just don't understand it. Like, this is not a hockey culture. I realize that Phoenix and Miami aren't hockey cultures either. Neither was Vegas. But, like, nobody down here knows the rules to hockey. Like,
You think that many people knew the rules to hockey in Florida?
I think more. They have more. There are more
Well, there's
humans.
more people in Florida, yeah.
We
but
can't even support an NBA team. There's no one there.
Because they stink.
I mean, you think the hockey team's going to be awesome?
I don't know. Well, the Vegas Knights won the Stanley Cup in a couple of years.
And it's a small market that doesn't know the rules of the sport. Like, I have no doubt the first game would be sold out, but like it would dissipate. Like, people are not going to get behind a hockey team here. I'm not really sure who's making these calls. Like, it'd be one thing if like Vegas is exploding as a city. So if you put it there, there's so many people there. Like, there's a gambling culture and a vacation culture, and like. I don't see how a reasonable person is going to get up there and outline a scenario where New Orleans just gets so hardcore behind a hocky team. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I think
I can't name one person, not one person that I'm closely associated with that watches 2 hockey games a week. Not one.
Well, then you're talking to one.
You do not. I don't believe you.
I do.
There's no chance of that. While you're watching Ohio basketball, you're also watching hockey.
I told you.
Chasing the chickens in the backyard.
I've told you before that I am a New Jersey Devils fan.
That's incorrect. Who's their head coach?
Oh my gosh.
Beck! This is what I'm talking about. You can claim that you have watched some Devils games over your time.
No,
you cannot claim to be a fan of a team if you don't know who their coach is.
I can name you like 10 players.
Not important. I want to know who the coach is.
Okay.
Exactly. You have to side with me on this. You have to go, yeah, you kind of got me there.
Well, okay, whatever. Nobody really cares about head coaches in hockey because they switch coaches every year or two because they get fired.
Yeah, nobody cares. I got it. I'm thinking a lot of folks up there in Trenton can tell me who the coach of the Devils is.
Probably so.
Probably so. It's a stupid idea is what it is. It's a stupid idea.
All right, next one. What if you got to name the hockey team?
I'm so bad at this because I don't want to get. I love stupid minor league baseball teams names because that's like the Trash Pandas and the Lug Nuts. Like that all makes sense to me because it's a niche thing where you're trying to be all entertainment. If you're going to be an NHL team, an NBA team, an NFL team, the name needs to like be able to be taken seriously. So like I don't want to do like the River Lobsters or something to like make fun of crawfish. Like I don't need the voodoo they've already had. I feel like because there are a lot of NHL teams that don't have S on the name of their team, that Jazz makes a ton of sense, even though there already is a Jazz, but that doesn't stop the Rangers and the Giants and the Giants across sports and like the Kings and the Kings across sports. You could do that. I think the Jazz makes a lot of sense. I also like, does it have to be New Orleans? Like, could it be Louisiana? And then I like made a stupid Google search. It's like, what animals in Louisiana? Like, I've lived here my whole life. And like black bears on there, like Louisiana black bears. Like, I don't know. That's got Ole Miss vibes to it.
Yeah.
I'm bad at this, and I don't. If they do get an NHL team, I don't want them to come up with some dumb name for them, like the baby cakes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't work in a real to be taken seriously championship contending organization, not like a minor league team. So like I would probably go Jazz if they asked me to do it, which is not original because clearly they already had it.
Yeah, I mean I don't even know if I guess could they be the Jazz? I guess they could.
Yeah, I just laid out all those ones.
NBA team,
yeah, I mean it's the Rangers and the Rangers in hockey and the Kings and the Kings and Giants and Giants. Like
I would do that. I would say that would be good. I would take that. But I don't know, man.
For what it's worth, I think the team name and the color scheme for Pelicans both works. I think they did a good job. It's always going to be weird the first time you brought it up. If somebody told me that they were gonna build have a new team and they were gonna call it the 49ers, like you'd be like, the what?
Yeah.
And I realize that the gold rush and the whole deal, but like everything's gonna sound weird the first time you hear it. I think Pelicans works. I would probably go with Jazz.
All right, next one. We got some in the chat here. It's from Dustin. What if Hunt got to play 17 at Sawgrass with the winds that were blowing this weekend? How many Pro V1s is Hunt putting in the water?
Man, I'd like to have confidence in myself. It's an 8-iron, 9-iron.
With the wind, yeah.
But the wind's an issue, and I'm a very bad iron player these days, so I think I would put 2 in the water.
Wow.
I think if you gave me a 1-in-3 shot, I think I could hit the green. But I need 3. I probably need 3 golf balls.
Yeah,
how many do you need, Beck?
So. Oh gosh, I'm actually not. I'm pretty okay with my shorter irons.
I think you're talking about 150 yards, depending on where the tee is and where the pin is.
I'm okay with shorter irons. It would probably take me 3 or 4. But I mean, maybe I'm in the Tokyo. What is it? It just says Tokyo.
If they played it again.
Oh, if they played it again, yeah.
Then don't play the Dodgers.
Yeah, that would be nice.
They need to play the A's.
Well, didn't they play in it last year or a year
they
before?
played in London against the Cardinals.
That's right.
Yeah, if you want to play the poverty-riddled Cardinals, that's fine with me.
Yes.
I'm not playing the Dodgers in Tokyo at 4 o'clock in the morning anymore. And I figured this out. There's a reason why we play sports at night. It's not because that's when everybody's off work and can enjoy themselves and have a beverage. We play sports at night so it doesn't ruin your entire day after your team loses at 5 o'clock in the morning. Because that's what I've been dealing about with for 2 days. And that is not a good way to start the day. Come out there, just watch your team get annihilated and then go about your day. That's not fun. We got to do that at the end so you can just go to sleep, forget about it, and get up for a new day.
That would be nice.
It's like 10 hours of walking around in misery after the Cubs get destroyed 2 days in a row.
All right, let's see if we got any more in the chat.
If we don't, that's good, because I got to talk about Jackson Dart.
Yep. All right, I think that's it.
All right, let's talk about Jackson Dart. We'll do that to finish out the hour. Coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Sedan all the way up to SUV. No matter what you're looking for, whatever fits your family or your personal needs, Genesis can make it happen. When I say Genesis, you should think luxury. Get behind the wheel. You'll see it is. And I'll tell you that when I say luxury, a lot of folks think of different brands. A lot of folks go, well, I can't really, it's out of my price range. Well, you don't know what it costs. Get it by Genesis of Baton Rouge and check it out. It's a luxury brand, a luxury experience at a reasonable price. That's the Genesis model. They're airline in Pico. If you're on Airline Highway, just make one more stop in your car buying trip and see Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check out one of their brand ambassadors, get behind the wheel, and see the Genesis difference. Genesis of Baton Rouge.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedic.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, we'll close out the hour here talking a little bit of New Orleans Saints. I think by now almost everyone is aware that Mel Kiper has mocked Jackson Dart to the Saints and has given a lot of reasons for that. And one, you got a new coaching staff that's very offensive that wants to pick their quarterback. You got an opportunity to let him sit there behind a veteran in Derek Carr and take over the reins potentially in year two. We watched a ton of Jackson Dart here over the last 3 years. And I didn't think he was great 2 years ago. I thought the last 2 years he was a damn good college football player. I thought he was productive. I thought he was sneakily athletic. I thought he had decent arm, decent size. Nothing pops with Jackson Dart. I just thought he was a damn good college football player. And when I think about him as the 9th pick in the draft, I consider him a really, really, really high risk. Part of that is because of his skill set, which I find to be solid and unspectacular. And part of that is because of the position he plays, where most quarterbacks you pick are busts. That's just the reality. Most quarterbacks selected, even in the first round, don't work. It's such a low hit rate. And to me, the Saints right now are in a position where they need to hit on early round draft picks that play across the field and don't make a ton of money. And so while, yes, quarterback remains the most important position in the sport, I look at Jackson Dart and he's too close to Spencer Rattler for me to feel like I need to take a first round top 10 selection on him. Like when I look at the best quarterbacks across the NFL, I don't get a lot of Jackson Dart vibes from them. Jackson Dart does not play like Lamar Jackson. He does not play like Joe Burrow at that level that Joe did in college. He does not play like Josh Allen. He does not play like Patrick Mahomes. He does not play, like if you want to toss Justin Herbert in that conversation, he doesn't play like Jalen Hurts. Like, he plays like Spencer Rattler. Like, Spencer Rattler had some good years. Now, I think that when I look at Lane Kiffin coaching Jackson Dart for 3 years, he probably had a better situation than what Spencer Rattler had. Early in his career, he did have Lincoln Riley, and they were okay, and then he got benched for Caleb Williams, and then he went to South Carolina, and he was decent there, and probably wasn't as good as Jackson Dart, but their skill sets are fairly similar. They don't have elite size. They don't have an elite arm. It's good. They were highly thought of high school players that have some tools, but if you tell me the Saints drafted Jackson Dart at the end of the 3rd round, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. If you told me they drafted him where the Saints drafted Spencer Rattler, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But when you've got a roster that's just riddled with holes like the Saints have, you need to start filling those holes with some guys that you're really confident can do that. And Jackson Dart cannot be a guy that you feel like is the 12-year starter for your franchise. Again, I'm not ruling his NFL career out as we sit here today, and I think he had a really nice college career. This is not an LSU Ole Miss thing. This is covering the Saints. As an LSU guy, I don't want Jackson Dart back at Ole Miss. I think he's really good. But the confidence level you would have in him coming in and being a franchise guy has got to be low based on his skill set and the pick, like the position. So give me an edge rusher. Give me an interior offensive lineman. Give me a high-level interior defensive lineman. Give me a corner. Like, give me somebody that you feel better about than a quarterback who's going to come in and sit on the bench for the first year. I just don't think the Saints are in that position right now. This is less to do with Jackson Dart and more to do with where the Saints are drafting and what their roster looks like. There may be some teams that it makes a lot of sense to draft Jackson Dart 25th overall, whoever has that pick. Maybe your roster is in such good shape, your quarterback's aging a little bit, and you're doing what some teams have done in the past. And you're taking Dak Prescott when you have Tony Romo, and you're taking Aaron Rodgers when you've got Brett Favre. And you're taking Michael Penix when you've got Kirk Cousins. And you could make that case for Derek Carr being older and Spencer and Jackson Dart being there, but you've already got Spencer Rattler. And I just feel like the Saints roster has so many holes, you need to fill one at 9. And Jackson Dart just isn't that guy. This is one of those points that I could make a complete 180 on and argue the other side and probably be fairly convincing to do it, but it would be disingenuous. Like, that's not the direction the organization needs to go. You cannot be taking massive risks at 9. The Chiefs probably can. The Eagles probably can. There was a time there where I thought the 49ers probably could. Now, they took a step back last year, but like when you've got a roster that's just loaded, you can take a big swing. The Saints are the opposite of that. They got a Swiss cheese roster that needs to be filled in now, and Jackson Dart doesn't fill any of those other holes. If he's still there in the third round, fire away. For now, if you're betting on a young quarterback on the come who's cheap, bet on Spencer Rattler, see what this staff can do with him, and then see if he's the next guy after Derek Carr. I think all of us kind of sit back and go, well, hopefully they win 4 games this year and they get to pick in the top 3 next year. Then there will be a quarterback. But 9, Jackson Dart, I'm out. If you're looking for our Saints coverage, you can always find it at Hunt on Saints on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts. LouisianaSports.net, Ross Jackson is all over them as well. That's it for hour number 1. If you missed any of it, you can catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Search Hunt Palmer Show. We got tons to do in hour number 2. Lots to do. Matthew Bruni talking hoops, LSU UNO baseball from last night, SEC baseball power rankings. We'll step aside for Sports Center. Come back with us on a Wednesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is that website. And we just talked about playing TPC Sawgrass and whether or not you could hit it on the green. Well, you could try that on a simulator. If you would like to look into getting a golf simulator put in at your home, Mitchell Fisher and the team at Audio Video Security Solutions can do that. They have done it in the Baton Rouge area. You've got to supply it, but they'll install the entire thing for you. So if you don't even know where to start, you're thinking, I'd like to play some golf inside, especially in the winter months or when it's 9,000 degrees outside and I don't have time to run out to sweat at the driving range, but I'd like to get some work done on my golf game. Audio Video Security Solutions can help you with it. You give Mitchell Fisher a call. Got his cell phone number right here, 225-439-7920, 225-439-7920. Give him a call. He'll be your point person. No better way to work with folks and work with small businesses right here in the Baton Rouge area. It's Audio Video Security Solutions online at avssla.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Baton Rouge's home for real rock. It's Eagle 98.1. Foo Fighters. Led Zeppelin. AC/DC. Pearl Jam. And the flagship home for LSU sports. Take us anywhere with the Eagle 98.1 app. Eagle 98.1 is the rock station.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. A significant change to NFL playoff seeding proposed by the Lions. Team with the best record in each conference, top overall seed, then seeds 2 through 7 would be ordered strictly by record in the AFC and NFC. Vikings moving past their talks with free agent quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Currently, they have J.J. McCarthy at the top of the depth chart. Minnesota could revisit Rodgers if he's still unsigned, should McCarthy get injured or show a need for more development time during offseason practices. Rodgers does have standing offers from the Steelers and Giants, but he also could call it a career, says Unsportsmanlike co-host Chris Canty.
If you're Aaron Rodgers, do you really want more of the same, and that is going to a franchise that's looking to you to be the savior, to be the missing piece? I don't know that he's even capable of being that at this stage of his career. Check that. I know that he's not that same quarterback at this stage in his career.
USC's Juju Watkins and Notre Dame's Hannah Hidalgo lead the women's AP All-America team. They're just the third and fourth women ever to earn first-team All-America honors their freshman and sophomore years.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Canty, coming up Thursday. I'll tell you how many games Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and Shedeur Sanders will start next season. It's Unsportsmanlike, weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, officially working towards the weekend. Fired up, you're hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Am I still hanging on to hope with Texas A&M? We'll talk about that in 30 minutes with our SEC baseball power rankings. We're going to start off this hour talking LSU women's basketball. Kim Mulkey's team gets a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. They will host San Diego State on Saturday. If they can move past the Aztecs, they'll take on Florida State or George Mason on Monday. Matthew Bruni covers the squad over there for the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 team, joins us now on the Jim's Farms hotline. Matthew, how are you?
Hey, Hunt. I'm doing great. It's the best time of the year. I'm fantastic.
Are you going to be able to get a nap on Saturday before you go to the PMAC? I mean, 9:15 tip time is completely unreasonable in my estimation.
It is. But I don't care. I'm just so excited for everything to start, man. Basketball all day, all night. Let's get it going. This team, I think, is going to blow out San Diego State. I think this is, besides Hawaii 2 years ago, this is the worst 14 seed that they've been up against. Remember, last year, the Rice team was actually pretty solid, hung in there a bit. And the very first year, they played Jackson State, who was a very, very good 14 seed that pushed them to the end. So I thought I like this matchup for LSU. I think they're in a good spot.
How big a storyline is the injury deal?
I don't think it's substantial. If anything, the rust would be a bigger concern here for Flage, having not played in almost a month now. At this point, you hope she comes back and that she's just as good as she was before. But ultimately, after the first game, it's every game from then on out is going to be a game against a top 25 team most likely. So if it's Florida State in the second round, she'll not only have to score a lot, but she's also probably going to be the primary defender on Tanaya Latson, who is the leading scorer in the country at 25 points per game. So then she'll really be tested physically and, conditioning-wise. So that's probably the bigger thing. Anissa Morrow is going to be Anissa Morrow. She'll grab a bunch of rebounds. But Flage is the bigger point for me.
So beyond the injuries, is your bigger concern point guard play? Is it front court play opposite Morrow? Like, where is something that LSU's got to make sure that they're on point?
Point guard play is definitely the concern, and we've talked about before. Like, everybody knows at this point it's the point guard play and it's figuring out the 5 position. But I do think in terms of the 5, they've shown that they are able to hold up against some of the bigger teams in the country. Like, they did a pretty good job against Texas. Like, they've held their own against South Carolina and some of these other teams. So that's a little bit less of a concern than point guard. Point guard would still be my number 1. But ultimately, we've seen them kind of move a little bit more to Michaela Williams just being a real ball-dominant guard lately. And if that's the case, that does take some pressure off of them and it lets them play different lineups with like a Miracle Shepherd and Kaylin Gilbert and so on.
We'll have some time to talk on Monday. You mentioned you think they're going to blow San Diego State out. I don't really have any doubt about that either. I'm more curious about the draw with Florida State and then what could come beyond that. When you saw the bracket, you mentioned the nation's leading scorer with Florida State. What else concerns you in LSU's bracket?
Yeah, so Florida State is, I believe, number 11 in the country in offensive rating. They're very, very good. Along with Latson, they have 2 other players that average about 15 points per game. So LSU's defense will be tested immediately there. The pace of the game should be pretty fast. So, in these kind of up-tempo games, if shots aren't falling, and then you're going to put a lot of pressure on your defense there. But then I think in terms of the 2 seed you're paired with, this is the best-case scenario for sure. I'd be paired with NC State, a team that they beat by 17 earlier in the year. Obviously, that was November, but I think from a matchup standpoint, it's the best case scenario for LSU. And then from there, it's 1 seed UCLA, who they beat last year in the Sweet 16. The difference is UCLA still has Lauren Betts, who is a 6'6", post, one of the best bigs in the country, and LSU doesn't have Angel Reese to go opposite her. So going back to what we were talking about with the center position, that's going to be the potential hole against UCLA that they're going to have to overcome in a big way.
Sounds like you feel like they'll probably get there, and is your guess? It's anything can happen in a tournament, but you feel pretty good about their ability to get to that game?
I do. A lot better than if they had, let's say, like Notre Dame as their 2 seed, or especially if they had UConn as their 2 seed. I think this is the best case for that. This is a team that's been inconsistent throughout the year, so, like, would it shock me if NC State beat them? No. I'm not sure it would shock me if Florida State beat them. It would be very surprising. But, with the injuries, the inconsistencies at times, like, this is a team with a high ceiling, but also a floor that could lose in the second round. Like, I don't think this is a team that, like last year's team, I thought it had a pretty high floor just because of the talent, right? Angel and Haley and everybody. This year's team, I think there are enough holes to where if the big 3 don't come to play, then they could be out in the second round potentially. But I do also think they have a Final Four shot.
It'll be interesting. We'll be certainly watching. I'm hopefully not catching you too much off guard here because news just broke, and I'm curious your thoughts on it as a basketball guy. Now everybody is reporting that NC State is going to tab Will Wade as their head coach once McNeese is bounced from this tournament. Your thoughts on that fit?
I like it a lot. Will Wade, going back to the East Coast, obviously was at VCU beforehand, and has been started at Clemson and so on. I also like it from a perspective of he's getting it back into it at the ACC level, and the ACC is very, very top-heavy and not much else. I mean, really only Duke, Louisville, and Clemson were good this year. So there's a lot of room to get good really quickly, even if you just, field a capable team. For instance, SMU made the jump to ACC this year and was one of the better teams in the conference. So it's very doable for him. He's going to win wherever he went, but I think this is a really good, not trying to do too much. I don't know how much like an SEC team would look at him or so on, but I think this is a very good and comfortable step up for him.
Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts on, because I know Will Wade, and I know that he considers everything all the time. He told us one time that he charts what leg people land on at practice more often. Like there's nothing that he doesn't look at. And for him, I was curious if he would go to the ACC, which we know is falling apart by the day, that doesn't have the financial backing and the television contracts that the Big Ten and certainly the SEC have. And so from that perspective, it's not as attractive. But from the perspective you laid out, like there aren't that many good teams. And if you come to the SEC, like everybody's good. So I'm curious what you think about the decision for him to go coach in that league.
Yeah, I think it's ultimately not his final destination there. It's to where he can turn it around in 2 years. I mean, he can do what he did at McNeese to obviously a different degree, where if he gets NC State as a top 3 team in the ACC, and as, obviously the ceiling's high enough there where if you're a top 3 team in the ACC, you're, Clemson's a 5 seed in the tournament this year. You're immediately back in the national conversation and being talked about, where if, the Indiana job that just got filled, but if a job like that opens up, or another big time job comes open, you're boom, Will Wade. All right, well, he's not at McNeese, he's at NC State, and he has NC State playing back, as a top 3 team in the ACC. So I think it makes sense from a standpoint of, I don't think it's a long-term thing for him. I think he's going to use it for 2 to 3 years, kind of like McNeese, and then boom, once a big job comes open, it's no longer you're hiring Will Wade from McNeese, you're hiring Will Wade from NC State, who has turned around another program.
Give me a thought or two on the field of, I guess it's not 68 anymore because we had a couple losses last night, but I mean, your thoughts on a Final Four and a national champ. Is the SEC gonna win this?
I think I have Auburn. The West, the bottom left region, the West region has been so tough to pick. I do have Texas Tech coming out of the bottom left, assuming they're healthy. Very, very good team there. I have Houston coming out the bottom right, and I have Duke coming out the top right. Now, it sounds chalk. That's 1-3-1-1. But I have New Mexico making a run to the Elite Eight as a 10 seed. And I have VCU in the Sweet 16. And I do have McNeese beating Clemson. I think this is a better matchup for Will Wade than Gonzaga last year. Gonzaga last year he talked about it actually on Fred Kapp's show. The worst case for them is playing a team that just doesn't turn it over, and it's very stationary. Y'all know how Will Wade likes to play.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be better suited to play Clemson this year.
Enjoy the basketball, Matthew. We'll talk next week.
Yes, thanks for having me. Hi.
Matthew Bruni, part of the Bengal Tiger team over there on 3. Guy just is a hoop head. He loves hoops. Got a couple different hoops podcasts that he's on, and certainly does a great job covering the men and the women for the Bengal Tiger over there, and we enjoy having him talk some hoops on Wednesdays. When we come back, I want to briefly talk about Will Wade going to NC State because that just broke. We'll do that, and we'll talk some baseball, LSU and UNO before we get to the SC Baseball Power Rankings. So let's do all that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
It's not just a game, it's a religion. You've got your team colors, team swag, and now your very own website. LouisianaSports.net. Everything LSU, Saints, and Pelicans. Sports on demand. In-depth coverage by sports writing pros with continuously updated news. And with the LouisianaSports.net newsletter, you get pinged directly with top trending stories. Best of all, now and always, no paywall. It's free. LouisianaSports.net. Powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Your home for Louisiana sports.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right. If you were listening just there in the previous segment, you heard the news that NC State is reportedly going to hire Will Wade as its next basketball coach. The former LSU head coach, 2 years at McNeese, run through the Southland Conference with relative ease. He'll get his 12 seed ready to play in the NCAA tournament tomorrow against his alma mater, Clemson. He did say today at the press conference a couple things. One, that he does still watch Clemson football a good bit. He does pull for Clemson football. That's his alma mater. He said that they don't practice during Clemson games. And he also said that when he was at VCU, they don't have football, no big deal. He's at an FCS football school, McNeese, right now, no big deal. It was a little bit hairy when he was the head coach at LSU, and LSU played Clemson in the national championship game, he said. I believe he said in a press conference he was all LSU in that time. It appears that may not have been completely true, but it didn't matter because it didn't matter who that team was going to play. They were going to kick everybody's ass anyway, so they did that to Clemson, and we move on. Sounds like you're itching to say something over there.
No, I was just gonna say I had this the Will Wade thing where they asked him about NC State. I had it in take it or leave it because he just said yes when somebody asked him if he had talked to them. They said
you've been talking to him, and but he did elaborate. I haven't seen the quote, but I haven't heard it.
Yeah, I can't find any video of
written.
It.
I can't either. And he said, I'm open with my guys. Like I have talked to NC State. They know that. We're gonna go play Clemson. So it appears that that's where he's headed. I'm going to be completely honest, like no punches pulled here. I'm thrilled that he's going to the ACC, to a school that I don't care about at all. Like the thought of Chris Beard going to Indiana and Wade going to Ole Miss was nauseating. The thought of Will Wade taking the Vanderbilt job last year was a little bit nauseating. Like that's a guy that I had fun when Will Wade was the head coach at LSU, and I completely get it. I completely get it. Those of you who are LSU fans who say, quit talking about Will Wade, I don't care. He dug our basketball program a massive hole that we haven't gotten out of, or I get that side of it. I'm not saying right or wrong here. I'm just telling you how I feel about the situation. When Will Wade took over at LSU, he infused life into the program. We won a lot of games. We were in the tournament 3 times. I know it was mired in chaos, really the entirety of it. But I didn't care. And when I did radio spots at that point, you're an LSU alum. Aren't you embarrassed that your program's going through this? No, I'm not. Because you know who's doing the same thing? Kansas. You know who's doing the same thing? Duke. And no one cares about that. You know who's doing the same thing? North Carolina. You know who's doing the same thing? John Calipari at Kentucky. Like, I don't care if Will Wade was going around paying people. Like, that doesn't make me not like LSU basketball. It just so happened that you got caught up in a wiretap where the FBI was tracking AAU high school kids instead of important stuff, and LSU was a casualty. And you can talk about how LSU handled it all you want. I'm not really interested in that conversation. I just liked when Will Wade was at LSU. I liked how many games LSU won, and I didn't want him to be on the other side. State, and LSU will never play him, and he'll be there for 2 years, and he'll take a bigger job. We'll see. I was curious, as I said in the interview, I'm just having this segment here, like, I thought to myself, I go, he's not going to take an ACC job because the ACC is ripping apart at the seams, and their television contract sucks, and all the money and the power and the influence are in the SEC and the Big Ten, and Will Wade is from Nashville and is coached in Virginia and is coached in Louisiana and is coached in Tennessee, and he is going to want to be in this Southeast, so it's not going to coach in the Big Ten. He's going to coach in the SEC. And that's what I'd kind of resigned myself to. But I feel like, as we just discussed in the last segment, he looks at the ACC and he goes, okay, Duke's going to get their dudes every year, and North Carolina's going to get their dudes every year, and maybe Louisville's back, maybe they're not, and maybe Clemson's going to be good for a couple of years under Brad Brownell, or maybe not, but like Jim Larrañaga just quit at Miami, and Georgia Tech's not any good, and Wake's not any good. Carolina just squeaked into the tournament. Like, it's not a strong league, and he might think, well, I realize that they don't have quite as much money, but NC State, likely that fan base, based on geography and program tradition, likely realizes that its best chance to put a good foot forward is in basketball. Like, are you ever going to be great at NC State in football? Probably not. Does anyone care about baseball? Look, Elliot Avant's done an incredible job there. And he had two of the best players in the country in 2013 when Carlos Rodon and Trey Turner were on that team. Like, he's done a really good job. They were in a super last year in Athens. But nobody cares. Like, there just aren't that many schools that care about college baseball. Sorry. You don't know anybody that cares more than me, but I understand the landscape. You're most likely to go to the boosters at NC State, and if the thought is, hey, let's pump $6 million into football and maybe we can win 7 or 8 games, or let's pump $6 million into basketball, we might be able to make the Final Four, I think that discussion's pretty quick. I think it's pretty easy. So maybe there is a chance there. I don't mind saying this either. I'll pull for NC State. I'm not going to watch them on.
You're not going to become an NC State fan, Hunt, like the Bengals and the Commanders?
No, not to that extent. I will pay attention. I'm not going to watch. I will check the scores twice a week, but I'm not going to watch them on Wednesday nights. But I wish Will Wade well in Raleigh.
We all knew this was coming. I mean, as soon as he got to McNeese State, we were.
Yeah, but the fear is he's going to Ole Miss.
Yeah,
and that would have been awful. I could not have dealt with that. I could not have handled it if he got the Kentucky job.
Yeah, that would have been tough.
That's just, I can't look at that. But NC State, come on, baby, love it. The next Jimmy V. So that's Will Wade headed up to NC State to be their next head coach. We'll see if they can beat Clemson tomorrow in the round of 64. All right, I did say in the last segment that I wanted to talk about LSU baseball last night, and I'll do that now. I talked about the pitching in the first hour. Let's talk a little bit about the hitting last night. Just clinical, just awesome. Jared Jones hits it 450 feet in the first inning to tie the game. Ethan Fry, who couldn't find a role for the first 2 years on a national championship team as a freshman. Last year, tears his labrum, can't really help. Comes back this year, he's healthy, and Jay Johnson is putting him in a position to succeed, and he's succeeding. 4 home runs on the season, 2 more last night, one an opposite field missile out to right field, and one a walk-off homer in the 7th into the seats and left. He's been a revelation, and he's not the 2 or 3 hitter. He's not one of the top 4 or 5 names in the lineup. He's not in the lineup every day, but he can help. and he's filling his role. And you expect that from a kid who last year had an opportunity to either get his shoulder carved on and sit out the rest of the season and be healthy for spring ball, or gut it out. And he gutted it out because he wanted to help. And I'm so happy for him and the production that he's shown thus far. And last night was a huge night for him. Jones gets 4 hits. He was sensational. It looked like for the first time all year, Derek Couriel was gonna wear the collar, was going to be 0 for 4, 0 for 5, was not going to reach base. His last at bat, rips it down the line in right field for a double. He does reach. He's reached base in every game thus far. And LSU just continues to roll. They scored in 5 of their 6 innings last night. 6 of their 7 innings last night. They did hit in the 7th inning. That's where they hit the walk-off. They scored in 6 of their 7 innings. Double-digit hits again, drawing walks. Like, it's not about last night's game because you're facing UNO midweek pitching and they're throwing a lot of different guys at you. But it's just about the continuation of an offense that at this point, every single time they go out there, they're getting 10, 12, 15 hits. They're scoring 8, 10, 12 runs. They're getting guys on base in almost every inning. They're driving in runs with 2 outs. They're executing squeeze bunts. They're hitting the ball over the fence. They're just showing the entire package. And if they had just scored 3 runs over 3 games against Florida over the weekend and gotten swept and they'd done exactly what they did last night to UNO, I wouldn't talk about it. But because I have a 3-week sample size post-Omaha to analyze and group last night's game into it and then go, well, they do the same thing every night. And some guys move up and down in the lineup. Some guys come in and out of the lineup. It was great to see Kate Aaron Beatty hit a home run last night. That's good for his confidence. Good to see Tanner Reeves back in the lineup last night. He hit the ball hard a couple times. And oh, by the way, LSU in the game issued 2 walks and didn't have an error. So more good, clean, fundamental baseball. That's what this team is going to have to do. This team does not quite have the star power of the team 2 years ago. That team had college baseball veterans, couple first-round picks, guys who would hit 16, 18, 22 homers. I mean, I always talk about Beloso and Dugas, but Jobert is in that mix as well. Trey Morgan is rocketing up the minor leagues. There was a lot of star power on that team. And this team right now doesn't have that. Jones is a superstar. Couriel is working towards that direction really quickly. Hopefully Dickinson can be that. Milam's close. So you're working in the right direction, but right now they don't have that. They've got to be cohesive, and they've got to execute 1 to 9 because they're not going to hit as many home runs as the team did 2 years ago. And right now they're doing that every single night. And this is a really good, and I'll talk more about this on Wednesday and certainly on Thursday and certainly on Friday. But this is another really nice incremental step up. You don't really want to go from North Alabama to Tennessee pitching staff. You don't really want to go from North Alabama to Arkansas's pitching staff. It's nice to go from North Alabama to Missouri staff. And frankly, it's going to be good to go from Missouri staff, which is a step up from North Alabama, obviously, to one more little step up with Texas. Texas's pitching staff is not where it's going to be under Jim Schlossnagle. They're going to get a lot better as he starts to recruit. He's got a good pitching coach there in Max Weiner, and they're gonna recruit good pitchers. Right now, they're a little limited. And if you were listening to Koki in the first hour and even following along on Twitter, like they had a reliever go down potentially last night in warmups and then had their closer throw over 50 pitches. So they're a little bit compromised from an arms perspective, and like they don't have a ton of juice in the starting rotation. They don't have LeBaron Johnson anymore. Their best pitcher is probably a transfer from Indiana State, who Luis Hernandez played with last year. This is a nice little step up here. And you'll get to bigger, badder pitching staffs. Like Mississippi State's got more talent on the mound than Texas. But Texas beat them last week in 3 games in Starkville. It'll be a big step up for the LSU pitching staff against Texas's bats. For the offense, which is what we're talking about right now, like another baby step up. And hopefully LSU continues the train they're on, which is 14 hits, 9 runs, execution, couple homers, sack bunt, squeeze, a lot of crooked numbers. That's what LSU is. Not a lot of strikeouts, and they were that again last night. So it's a good thing for the Fighting Tigers of LSU as they beat UNO 11-1 on Tuesday night. All right, step aside. SEC baseball power rankings when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show with former Texas A&M Yell leader, Hunt Palmer. Giga Maggies.
All right. I actually put the most work into my SC Power rankings this week that I have all season long. Now, we're only 5 weeks in, but I watched more SEC baseball last weekend than probably any other because we were so immobilized by the 1-week-old child and the horrible weather on Saturday. So there was just a lot of I was double screening at times trying to pay attention. And I feel like watching these teams step up in class truly for the first time was revealing in a lot of senses. I'm smart enough not to boil an entire program down and team down into 3 baseball games, but they were impactful in my rankings. So let's get to them. This week's SEC Baseball Power Rankings.
Hunt's SEC Power Rankings. The Tennessee Volunteers.
Well, Easy said if Hunt doesn't have LSU number 1, we riot. I do not have LSU number 1. Tennessee was frighteningly good over the weekend against Florida. We know Liam Doyle's good at the top of the rotation. Marcus Phillips against a powerful Florida lineup at Lindsey Nelson, which is a pretty good place to hit. 7 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. That's good stuff from a youngster there in the Tennessee staff. It's not Chase Dolander and Chase Burns just yet, but Liam Doyle and Marcus Phillips looking pretty good at the top of that Tennessee rotation. The Vols finally lost last night to East Tennessee State, but they're still number 1 in my power rankings.
The LSU Tigers.
I got LSU up to number 2. I had Florida in that spot, and I still think Florida's good, but LSU right now probably deserves that slot. The offense is awesome. I need more from the rotation. But we'll take the number 2 spot right now.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Really impressed with the Hogs in Oxford. They scored 30 runs on 9 home runs in 3 games. They're finding something offensively. The Alloy brothers are great, but Brett Iredale has been awesome as well. They're powerful in swinging the bat. They're hitting the ball over the fence, and that pitching staff should be good. Now, it's not what I thought it would be because Ole Miss crushed Root on Friday, and Gackle hasn't been the best, but there's still talent there for the Arkansas staff. I thought it was a great series win on the road in Oxford, so give me Arkansas at number 3.
The Florida Gators.
Only dropped Florida down 2 spots here to number 4, even though they're 0-3 in the league and got swept. There are more teams that are going to get swept at Lindsey Nelson this year. Liam Peterson was pretty good in his start on Friday. Aiden King was awesome on Saturday, and it just wasn't enough. I thought he was good enough to win the game, but it turns out that Tennessee was going to score 9 runs in the 7th inning, so he wasn't. But Florida, I think, is still a good team. They've got Birdie Donay and some of those guys that can really swing the bat. They just ran into a buzzsaw last weekend, so I've got them at 4.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Alabama's up a few spots this week. We knew they were going to be pretty good offensively. I thought they pitched it really well over the weekend in College Station. Texas A&M had 3 extra base hits on the weekend. Some of that's A&M being bad right now. Some of it's Alabama. But Riley Quick throwing 98 miles an hour. That's pretty salty. Hitting 7 home runs on the road on a weekend, pretty salty. Alabama up to number 5. Impressive stuff from Rob Vaughn's team.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Georgia's 21-2. They're really slugging and they're not pitching, which is what they did last year. Their 3-game series against Kentucky finished 36-26. 36-26. Kentucky lost 2 out of 3 and almost averaged 10 runs per game. So a lot of offense for Georgia, especially when they play in that ballpark in Athens. They're number 6.
The Texas Longhorns.
Texas swept Mississippi State. Really impressive. They won 8-7 in the opener, and then they played 2 7-inning games on Sunday, 5-3 and 4-1. Koki said this, as the D1 baseball guys have said this, Texas's bullpen depth wasn't really tested because they cut 4 innings off the series, which is a big deal. But they did enough defensively and on the mound and offensively to go sweep Mississippi State. I don't think State's very good right now, but Texas is a scrappy team, and Jim Schlossnagle's a heck of a coach. He got A&M to Omaha in year 1. He's going to try to do that in Austin as well.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Hunter Elliott is back. I watched his start against Arkansas on Friday night, and he looked like a dude. I mean, the basketball velocity was getting by Arkansas. The breaking ball looked good. He's always had that great straight changeup. That's a dude at the front of the rotation for Ole Miss, and they're hitting pretty well. Now, they got their guts ripped out. They were 1 out away from winning that series, and Arkansas hits the home run to take it away from them. But I think they're better than I probably thought. I've got them at 8.
The Auburn Tigers.
Huge series win for Auburn over Vanderbilt at home. Get the grand slam to win Game 3 and take the series over the Commodores. I've got my questions about their talent level, but I'm going to give them credit for that win over Vanderbilt at home. It was gutsy, it was gritty, and that's a nice win for Butch Thompson's team.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
It makes sense that I would put Vanderbilt right behind them because they played a very evenly matched series over the weekend. Keep in mind, we've got 10 teams down, and we hadn't gotten to A&M yet. J.D. Thompson is Vandy's Friday guy. At Auburn, 5 innings, 5 hits, 5 earned runs, just 3 strikeouts and 2 walks. Then you go to Ethan McIlvain on Saturday, 1 inning and a third, 2 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks. Like, that's Vanderbilt's top 2, J.D. Thompson, Ethan McIlvain. That's not what we're used to from Vanderbilt. It's just not. And so they're trying to hit their way out of that. That's a tough thing to do. They didn't hit Sam Dutton on Friday, so Vanderbilt's got some issues. They're still not terrible, but they're not a top 9 team in the SEC by my estimation at this point.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
Got Oklahoma at 11. Kyson Witherspoon is the reason why, because I think he might be a top 3 Friday starter in the SEC. They got work to do after him in the rotation. I like the name and the game of their leadoff guy. Their leadoff man's last name is Walk. He also hits a lot. I like it. He's a good player. I like their Friday night guy a lot more. That's why Oklahoma is at number 11.
Texas A&M!
All right, there's the Aggies at 12. It's bad. I mean, it's bad right now. They're 11-9. But look at what their starting rotation did over the weekend. Ryan Prager, Justin Lampkin, and Miles Patton. 3 guys in 3 games. 17 2/3 innings, only 6 earned runs and 18 strikeouts. They gave A&M a chance in every game, and their offense sucks. They cannot hit. They strike out too much. They don't hit the ball over the fence. They had 3 extra base hits in 3 games. They did not score on Sunday against Alabama's Sunday pitching. I still have not buried A&M because it's a long baseball season. We know that around here from last year. It's not looking good. And when you hear Michael Early, their head coach, talk in postgame, he doesn't know what's going on. And it's a bad deal in College Station.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Kentucky almost won at Georgia, but they didn't pitch worth a flip, and that's kind of what I think about Kentucky. They don't trot anybody out there that throws 95. Everyone throws 95. Kentucky doesn't. That's going to be hard to win when you're in this league that slugs like this league does, like Georgia did to them, where they scored 1 billion runs in 3 games, 36 in total. That is a problem, and I don't think Kentucky can keep up. So they almost won the series. They didn't. I got them down at number 13.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Mississippi State loses every game they play against a decent team. All of them. And they lost all 3 against Texas over the weekend. They've got some talent that's in the pitching staff. Got some guys that throw pretty hard. I love Pico Khan at the front of the rotation. I think there are some talented hitters in the lineup, Ace Reese being chief among them. Hunter Hines was back in the lineup. He's got to get going, hit the ball over the fence. But, I mean, they're not good. They're 14th.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
There's just no talent on that South Carolina team. They almost beat Oklahoma, but they lost. I don't see a Friday guy. I don't see a dominant closer. I see Ethan Petrie who can hit some home runs, but they don't have much around him. I don't know what Coach Maneri is going to do over there, but they're not going to win a lot of games this year.
The Missouri Tigers.
That's it. I mean, they played better than I thought this weekend, but I just
hit some home runs.
They did. Over under on Missouri league wins 6.
Under
5-25.
I think they might get 6. I was thinking 6 before you said the number. I was thinking 6.
6.5 under.
I'll take 6.
5.5
over.
Okay.
I'll say 6. I think they're going to win 6.
All right. Those are my power rankings. Tennessee at the top, LSU number 2, Arkansas number 3, Florida number 4, Bama at 5, Georgia at 6, Texas at 7, Ole Miss is 8th, Auburn 9, Vanderbilt at 10, in the 11th spot, Oklahoma, 12th, Texas A&M. Oh my, the mighty have fallen. They are 11-9. 13 is Kentucky, 14 Mississippi State, 15 South Carolina, 16 Missouri. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to try to do this off the top of my head. LSU does play Missouri, that's 16th. LSU does play South Carolina, they're 15th. LSU does play Mississippi State, I've got them 14th. Don't think LSU plays Kentucky. They do play A&M, I've got them 12th. They do play Oklahoma, I've got them 11th. They play Auburn. They play Texas. They play
Texas A&M.
I've got Texas A&M ticked off. They play Tennessee. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm missing 2. I think LSU plays Bama.
They do.
And I think LSU plays Arkansas here. So I know that. So LSU, by these power rankings, this is who LSU plays. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9.
LSU does not. Oh yeah, they do. They play. That's the last, second to last series.
They play Auburn.
Yes. Yes, they do. They play in Auburn. Yes.
Okay. So better put, LSU plays 16, 15, 14, 12, 11. So 5 of the bottom 6 by my count, and only plays 4 of the top 7, and LSU's number 2.
They play South Carolina too.
Yeah, no, I
So,
got
yeah,
that.
16, 15.
No, they don't play 13 Kentucky.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, by my rank, which doesn't really mean anything, I'm just here for entertainment, but by my estimation, LSU plays 5 of the bottom 6 teams in the league and misses Florida, misses Georgia.
You get Tennessee at home.
You get Tennessee at home, but that's just going to be a monster. You get Arkansas at home. But
the schedule is favorable.
You got South Carolina the last week, and that's important to consider, considering where they could be at that point. You certainly had some tougher end of seasons. And remember, LSU had Ole Miss the end of the season last year, swept them, and that got LSU firmly into the tournament when that happened. So that's going to be one that I file away for later on. But as you work the math, you're trying to get where you need to get, and I've moved that number down to 18. I think LSU needs to get 18 league wins. You'll be a top 8 seed. I don't know if that gets you the 3rd seed or the 8th seed. I don't care. You need to you get in the top 8. I think 18 wins does it. Right now you've got 3, and you can feel decent about 2 the last weekend, and you kind of bake that into the math as you run hypotheticals. It almost never works out according to plan, but that's why we love it. It's fun to monitor. Those are your power rankings. Let's come back and close it out. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every single model in the line, from the entry level all the way to the highest end, comes with the same safety features. That's something that's very important to the folks at Genesis. They're simply not going to cut corners on safety. So if you're looking for one of the safest cars on the road, Genesis, no matter which model you like, checks your boxes. The entire line, IHA top safety picks. Some of them top safety picks plus. Ask the brand ambassador when you go by and see him at Airline and PQ, what kind of safety features are we talking about here? They'll walk you through the entirety of it, and you'll be impressed. Genesis of Baton Rouge, luxury line of vehicles right here in the capital city. Go see him Airline at PQ, or check out the entire inventory online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, hosted by the Goo Goo Dolls' #1 fan, Hunt Palmer.
Oh, actually, let me do a promo real quick.
That'd be
I should have
great.
told you that before we got back from the break. But
it would
now,
have been preferable if you would have told me that, but you didn't. So,
but now
what are we going to do?
We're going to do a promo now, and guess
Awesome.
what? Guess what it's going to be for, Hunt?
I bet it's for the bracket challenge.
It is for the VEX European Bracket Challenge. Head over to LouisianaSports.net now to get your picks in before the first game begins tomorrow, March 20th. The most accurate picks take home the grand prize of $1,000, which cannot be won by neither I or Hunt Palmer, nor would we win because we are just dumb idiots. But
speak for yourself.
The VEX European Bracket Challenge, powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It takes a sharp basketball mind like mine.
A sharp basketball
to come
mind.
up with 4 1 seeds in the Final Four, as I have done.
That is
not just anybody can do that.
You're right, because I don't think many people would do that actually. Because it has very rarely happened, if ever.
I went through my bracket in less than 2 minutes. And
that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, and usually my bracket looks about exactly the same. I've got some 12s. I've got one that has a 12 versus a 13 in the second round.
Oh, yeah. Wait, are you talking about UC San Diego and Yale? Because that's what I got.
You got Yale playing A&M.
The Bulldogs.
No,
they're playing Yale is playing
Drake,
Auburn.
But I think,
Or no, they're not.
Yale's
no.
playing A&M.
Yale's playing A&M. That's right.
That's who LSU played with their good team. They played Yale in the first round.
It was a close game.
Yale had an NBA guy on that team.
I think Yale has an NBA guy this year, too.
How about that? So I usually have a 12 versus 13 in one bracket. I usually have a 12 seed going too far. Usually have 1 8 seed beating a 1 seed. This year I just kind of played the chalk. I think I've got Drake going to like the Elite 8 or something.
It's always the double digit.
They're 30-3. Like that's a decent team. They beat Vanderbilt. I actually, it's not like I just saw the name Drake and like put them. I actually looked at their record and then I saw who they beat. And I was like,
they got some wins.
So we'll see how it goes. But I don't expect a lot from my bracket. I will say this, and this is very important. Very important national basketball history. In fact, I think if you go to Springfield and go to the National Basketball Hall of Fame,
yes,
right next to the rules that Naismith had for the original games, you'll see my 2007 bracket for my freshman year of college. I went 16-0 on day one.
Wow.
Which included VCU over Duke.
Incredible stuff.
No big deal. No big deal.
VCU, was that the Shaka team?
It was Shaka.
Of course.
And I went 16-0, went to the bar that night, went to Bogey's Bar and Grill.
Oh, wow.
We really cut up that night. I think
sure.
the next day I went like 7-0.
You probably had a great morning the next day as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I mean, in college, who cares? You just get up and go.
Of course.
I mean, first of all, the morning starts at like 10:50 a.m.
Yeah, we're not talking about morning
Get up
here.
early enough to go eat lunch. That's morning. It's not like I had to set the old alarm for 6:15 to get out and get the kid up and change a diaper. It was more like wake up at 10:15 and go eat lunch.
How about a few take it or leave it's here? We don't have a lot of time, but I'll just go through them real quick. Did you see Scotty Scheffler's Masters dinner?
I did see it. He did the same thing.
It's basically the same thing. I don't remember the ravioli bites. Which
no, they weren't.
Sounds
the
perfect
Scotty
for
style sliders.
Yeah, the Scotty served Scotty style sliders, and then we got the cookie skillet.
People were clowning him a little bit. They were putting like
Texas Roadhouse
putting
menu
chain
and
restaurants
all
on the top. There was some smack being
talked.
Don't
sleep on the black and redfish. All right, that's a good Texas Louisiana thing. There.
Let me tell you, if there's a ribeye on the menu, I am sleeping on the black and redfish.
Yeah, of course,
comatose on the black and redfish.
Wood-fired cowboy ribeye. That sounds pretty awesome.
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I would definitely the chili. I could probably do without. I'm not really a big chili guy. I mean, I like it, but
I don't care
for
about
a Masters
chili.
dinner. I'm not eating chili at a Masters dinner.
And what I didn't realize, I thought up until a couple of years ago that whatever the champion served, like that's what you ate.
Yeah.
That is the akin to if you go to a restaurant, that's the special.
Right.
And as it's been determined by most of the past champions, like most of the folks just eat what they serve but I'm sure there are a couple of guys who are like, screw it. I know you got good food back there. Just bring me something.
Yeah. And how about this? Will Wade gets the Wolfpack to an Elite Eight within the next 3 years. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it.
Elite Eight's tough.
Elite Eight's tough to get to.
And he's playing in a pretty good league.
It's mediocre.
Well,
but
it was
just
this
depends.
year, but usually it's really good.
I'll tell you, if they can find $8 million under the couch cushions every year, he'll get there. He'll do it with $8 million.
Can NC State do that? Probably not.
I mean, Auburn and Bama are doing it.
That's true. But they're also.
I mean, Ross writes that there's a guy out in San Francisco funding our football team I never heard of. You never know who the rich guy is.
They're playing third fiddle in the state.
They are, but that's motivation for some people.
Yeah.
I'll show you. Like, I'm an NC State guy, and we'll pump the money, and we'll see. As I said, like, I'm glad he's not going to the SEC. That was thing one for me, and I'll pull for him from very much afar, and probably won't be able to name one player on his team as of March of next year. But we'll see. The Madness starts tomorrow, and we'll certainly keep you locked in on that. We got a ton to do tomorrow on the show. We'll talk to Joe Healy, getting you set for the weekend. We'll talk to Chris Blair, talk to Luke Johnson on the Saints, and we'll also try to go to Austin, Texas, and get a preview of the Longhorns on Friday's show. All right, enjoy the evening. Have a good one. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR coming up next. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place, for a Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100